One thing that people did, for example, when it comes to Rahav's situation, was they congratulated Biden. They congratulated Trudeau because and Canada as a whole for accepting Rahav so ahead of everybody else, right? So Rahaf was this ex-Muslim. She was in trouble. She was going to get deported back to Saudi Arabia. We have no idea what would happen to her if she got deported back to Saudi Arabia. Australia failed to step in. UK failed to step in. United States failed to step in. Canada was there. Canada stepped in. Canada welcomed her with open arms, and people are like, "Oh my God, this is amazing! Yay, Canada! You're the role model for human rights that we want." Okay. Well, if you celebrated Canada for that, now it's time to shame Canada. If you want to compare that, because now when it comes to actually a much higher number of human lives, United States is way ahead of almost every country now because of the Biden administration, including Canada. Let me show you a few things. So we have this article by CTV News in 2015. But this is the Harper administration defending the Canadians' military contract with Saudi Arabia. This is the Harper administration right before Trudeau. So this was 2015. And then I have another article in 2018 saying Trudeau defends Saudi arms export deal, points finger at Harper government. So this was 2018. And when did Khashoggi died? Khashoggi?
It's around, I think, 2017 or
2017. I think once the pressures, and now I have another article from later 2018. I think the pressure from the Khashoggi, again, it's very interesting because when governments around the world were being pressured to stop their deal with Saudi Arabia, not because of the hundreds of thousands of Yemenis, but because of
2018. 2018 was
okay, so that actually matches perfectly with this, right? So this is in 2018. They were Canadian government was being pressured to reevaluate their sales with Saudi Arabia, which is amazing because one American resident gets this in more attention, gets more pressure on all these governments to reevaluate their deals with Saudi Arabia more than hundreds of thousands of Yemenis. Okay, this shows that it's not even a citizen. This shows how much an American residentship gets you, right? So this is in 2018, March 2018. Saying Justin Trudeau defends Canada's arms sales to Saudi Arabia. Okay, so now the pressure is mounting up. This is again 2018, much later. I think this is in October 2018. Trudeau suggests he's willing to freeze Saudi arms export permits. Okay, so he's like, maybe we put a freeze on it. And this is why I was telling you about the history of this, which even if a country suggests that they might put a freeze on it, we shouldn't we shouldn't drop our guard. Like we should keep at it with Biden because they might undo this freeze. So this is in late 2018. Trudeau said, "Oh, this is by Huffington Post," and then we have another. This is now August 2019. So he in late 2018 he said that maybe we will stop doing exports to Saudi Arabia. But then in late 2019 people were like, hey, what's up with that? So this is by CTV News again. August 2019, the headline says Trudeau pressed to give update on review of Canada's arms deal with Saudi Arabia. People are like, what's up with that? Why haven't you moved forward with this? And now we have here in April 2020 Canada lifted the suspension of arms export to Saudi Arabia, citing what was it? Oh, here, Ottawa
they
says,
allowed it again.
Yes, they allowed it again, saying says a renegotiation of contract will secure jobs of thousands of Canadians, but activists accuse of hypocrisy. Okay, so this is exactly what Trump administration was giving the excuse. So Trudeau was giving the same excuse that the Trump administration gave to why they need to sell arms to Saudi Arabia, citing jobs. I know this is, by the way, I know this is virtue signaling. Okay, I don't give a shit. It seemed like I need to virtue signal because seemed like I know it's going to sound very brave.
You're right. Absolutely right. I know you wanted me to disagree with you on something, but this is like
but let me
100% on point.
Yeah. If your job involves starvation of children and bombing of civilians, you shouldn't have a job.
Yeah.
And the fact that they cite this and this sells, like, I know this is like such a, you feel like, oh wow, Armin is against the murder of children, but apparently, like, you're like, oh wow, like, yes, so amazing, yay, I'm against murder, I'm against bombing civilians. Apparently this is not as apparent to people as you think it is, if you want to be like, if you want to like make a joke about that, as if this is such an easy point to make, because this sells this idea of, hey, we need to sell weapons to Saudi Arabia because of jobs. It sells in United States and it sells in Canada to Canadian voters. The fact that this sells, that means there are people in Canada and in the United States that think like, hey, yes, I know maybe civilians are dying, but we need jobs. The fact that they're using this as a selling point means it does sell. That means that there are Canadians and Americans that are garbage human beings. I'm sorry. They are garbage human beings if this line of reasoning works on you. Okay? And then if this wasn't bad enough, this was April 29, 2020. Here, this was another June 2020, actually.
When they doubled the weapon sales.
Yes, this is the Guardian. This is the Guardian saying Canada doubles weapon sales to Saudi Arabia. Yeah, great. So again, if you were one of the people who went and congratulated Canada for accepting Rahaf ahead of other countries and be like, yay, Canada understands human rights, now is your chance to go shame Canada. The liberal government of Trudeau is behind United States. So all these countries that felt like, hey, look at us, we're not as bad as the Trump administration. Look at these idiots. Look at United States. Look how ridiculous they are. Yay, we understand that global warming is real. Yay, we understand that human rights is important. Yay, we think like vaccines are important. We don't deny science. We're like, hey, look at us. We're like, Trump was such a great way for all these countries to look superior. Now you should all look inferior. You should all be shamed, because the United States, that was a mocking, that was used as a way for every country to mock and feel superior. Now United States should be used as an example for all these countries to look inferior, because they have a pause on weapon sales to Saudi Arabia and you do not. So shame on Canada and shame on Trudeau.
That was great. I think it got me a little wet. I couldn't. I think you said it perfect. I think that everything that you did over there, that video clip, aside from me saying that I got wet afterwards, like, we would cut that out, but everything before that, we need to take that as a clip and we need to post it out there for free. I mean, just for everybody to watch. So hopefully we can do that. Yeah, but I completely agree with you. I mean, this has been one of the blind spots of. It's hard to say. It's kind of diminishing it to just call it a blind spot. But I mean, this has been a very, very deliberate strategy in Canada. And actually, this is, now that you mentioned, it's actually a really good example of what you were saying right at the beginning of the show, right? Like, where you were saying that they take the release of these activists. And it's true. Justin Trudeau, Chrystia Freeland, they made a really big deal about the Raif Badawi thing. Saudis got mad at that. They cut off all diplomatic ties. All of that stuff over this, the activism, which was absolutely important. It was really good, and it was great that Canada took that stand. They accepted Rahaf al-Qunun. That was a great thing that Canada did that. All of that stuff is great. But when that's what's happening on the surface, and that's the stuff that's in the headlines, and in the background, they have this waffling on the arms deal, blaming it on the Harper government. I remember the excuses they gave before, and what they said before, and I remember I talked about this and I explained the logic of it as well. They said, well, they made the deal, the Harper government made the deal. We can't just undo the deal. We can't have the kind of thing where every time there's a new party in government in power, then all the deals become, we're going to lose credibility. It's like what Trump did by ripping up the Iran deal. Nobody's going to make a deal with them anymore. So it damages credibility, so they have to carry it through. That was it. And then the suspension got lifted, and then they ended up doubling their arms sales, right, to the Saudis. So clearly that excuse was nothing more than just an excuse. They needed to keep it going because they wanted to save thousands of jobs. Okay, and these jobs basically These people needed jobs so they could make weapons that the Saudis could use to bomb kids and kill people directly and indirectly. 233,000 of them in Yemen. So, I mean, it's clear as day. Like, this entire sequence of events is clear as day. And you're right. Like, the Biden administration, by coming in and within the first week, in addition to all the other stuff he's done, I know it's been executive orders and that's controversial, but just freezing this arms deal, the arms sales to Saudi Arabia, it's more than anything, more than the arms sale thing, it's a provocation. Like, to me, so I'm looking at the signs. Okay, the signs here are the Biden administration within the first 7 days. They're like, okay, we're going to freeze arms sales. They don't care anymore. They don't have to deliberate that much. They don't have to bother. They're like, we're just freezing the arms sales. What's Saudi Arabia doing in return? Like, in that sense, Saudi Arabia is saying, well, you know, this prisoner that we had, this women's rights activist, you know, we're going to sentence her to 5 years, but she can be out by March. Right? And they've suspended that sentence. So if you look at these as signs, they're signs of a shifting power dynamic. They're signs of the U.S. basically being able to do what it wants to do with Saudi Arabia and having more power over Saudi Arabia. And on the other hand, of Saudi Arabia being more susceptible to U.S. pressure in a way like it wasn't in the last 4 years for sure, but also it never was before the last 4 years with any of the other administration, whether it was Clinton or Reagan or, you know, Obama or Bush or anybody. So it signals a change in the power dynamic between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia. And I don't know if the same thing's going to bleed over into the other states, like with Canada and everything. But you're right. Like the Biden administration actually does seem a lot more progressive now. The U.S. suddenly, like overnight, has gone from like far right to becoming like super progressive, and it's overtaking like all of these other countries who are still sort of doing behind the scenes bedroom deals, right, with the Saudis.
By the way, if Biden does undo this freeze, but I agree with everything you said, by the way, the blame is on the Americans who didn't push harder for this, right? Like, if this freeze stops, like if you are not paying, because the Biden administration is also maybe testing on how much of a congratulation, how much of a boost they're going to get from undoing this arms deal. And if it's not going to be significant enough, they might, like, if they feel like we didn't get that much of a boost, like maybe like if they see like, hey, removing, like, if you go and look at the Twitter sphere and YouTube scene, right, the fact that Biden undid the discrimination against trans people in the military, that is getting a lot of attention. Okay. And am I for that? Yes, I'm really glad that Biden did that. Okay. However, the number of people that are going to be impacted, the positive impact on trans people in the military by that is astronomically less than this. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And that shouldn't be controversial to say. And if they notice that, like, hey, I could do this and people are celebrating it more, and I'm going to get more of a political boost from people by smaller things that people care more about than bigger things that people don't seem to care about, then you're motivating them to move only in that direction. Okay. Motivating them. Actually, let me show you. Don't make this meme become a reality. Hold on. I know the people who are you might not be able to see this, but maybe Ali could describe it when I bring it up. Okay, here.
All right.
Do you know what this? Okay, here.
So yeah, this meme, what it's showing, it's got a picture of there's Republicans, and then there's a fighter plane underneath it, and Democrats fighter plane. The fighter plane's dropping bombs. The only difference is the Republicans' plane is completely plain with no decorations or anything like that. The Democrats' plane has, let's see, it's got a Black Lives Matter banner on it. It's got Yes She Can on it, and it's got a rainbow flag on it. But it's still doing the exact same thing. It's still dropping bombs.
Hey guys, if you want to join these streams live, get your comments and questions read by Ali and Armin and the guests, and most importantly, to get full access to the full video versions of all these episodes, become a patron. Link in the description below.